What's up? It's Tom. Thanks for clicking on this video. We're going to get to some highlights in a little bit here, but we're talking about Simeon Woods Richardson today. And what you see here, what I've got up on the screen, is Aaron Gleeman released his top 40, which is available over at The Athletic. I highly recommend that you check it out. I'm not going to give this whole thing away. But I wouldn't say it a surprise, but one of the things I want to react to is how far Simeon Woods Richardson has fallen on his list. I think we can kind of expect generally him to fall on most lists. The prospect shine is sort of been taken off, with how he performed at AAA and kind of how he looked in general, not just the raw numbers. So I wouldn't say I'm shocked that Simeon Woods Richardson is this low on Aaron's list, but he's not this low on my list. And I want to talk about why. I want to talk about why I'm still pretty optimistic about Woods Richardson. To be fair, Aaron also kind of leaves the door open for optimism as well, pointing out that this guy is still only 23 years old and has been pushed aggressively to this point. So just wanted to call that out. Now, why am I withholding some enthusiasm about this guy? Well, a big part of it is another guy at The Athletic, what resource he has available that shows on Woods Richardson. Let's get over to that. So Eno Saras, who is also of The Athletic, is kind of a pitching guru, a pitching nerd. I say that complimentary. And he has a big, gigantic spreadsheet. It's kind of crazy to navigate through sometimes because there's so many different tabs on it. But he also has minor league data for the parks that have that Hawkeye tracking that's in all the major league parks, which is every AAA park. And I think most, but not all, low A parks, the ones that are spring training facilities for Major League Baseball teams. So what we're looking at here is his sheet that is the final numbers for AAA. And as you can see, of everyone who threw in AAA last year, which includes some rehabbing major leaguers like Tyler Glasnow is in here, you see. There's a bunch of other familiar names in there. But Simeon Woods Richardson ranked 11th in the Stuff Plus at 116.9. How is that possible for a guy that doesn't throw that hard? Well, Stuff Plus looks at all of your individual pitches and how they also kind of work together. So Stuff isn't all about velocity, but I would imagine this metric loves his changeup. Again, this is a list of hundreds of guys. There are over 1,000 pitchers on here. 1,240 pitchers. That is eye-opening. That is certainly a reason for me to maintain some belief in this guy. Now, he's got a lot of things he needs to figure out and smooth out. But as you can see, even these guys way up here, most of these guys only had a few outings. Woods Richardson is the only guy approaching 2,000 pitches among these higher ones, along with Will Warren had a bunch, 20-plus appearances there. And you see he's right above Joe Musgrove, again, calling out that there are some MLB rehab guys. Hunter Green, who's got incredible stuff. Tristan McKenzie. So that really stands out to me as a reason to remain optimistic and remain believing in Simeon Woods Richardson. All right, so getting to those highlights, I promised we're going to take a look at some full plate appearances here with Simeon Woods Richardson. Going to show you some ones that go a little deep here. Here's a 5-pitch plate appearance. Slider, changeup, four-seam fastball, changeup. Really features that changeup against lefties as you would expect, and they have all sorts of trouble with that thing. But the fastball I want to call out here was a 93.8 miles per hour fastball. Again, these are readings from the Hawkeye data. That's the exact same tracking as in a major league park. We're going to kind of focus more on his secondary pitches, but do want to call out, there are some outings where that fastball is in more of a respectful range. Some of the time you see him sitting 90 in a lot of outings, so it's kind of hit or miss. Another lefty here, he falls behind and just goes changeup to get back into this count, and that's something he can do. That's how good that pitch is. He does follow one off here, gets a piece of one, and then once the bat's kind of slowed down, hits him with a 93.4 mile per hour fastball to finish things off. That probably looked like it was about 100 after those 3 consecutive changeups. Completely caught him off guard. Very well located as well. So there was a couple of at-bats there. Moving forward, here he is in another longer at-bat, a 5-pitch at-bat, falls behind once again. Guy almost hits a home run on that fastball. I was kind of surprised he went back to the fastball. Didn't quite challenge him, though, out of the zone. to get back into the count, throws a curveball. I thought that was a really surprising choice. Really well-located pitch, though. And then gets him with that beautiful changeup that just kills lefties. We'll see a few more highlights of lefties just not being able to touch that thing. Kyle Manzardo, a big prospect for Cleveland, is up next, and he makes very quick work of him. Well-located fastball, a poorly located changeup, but it's such a good pitch it didn't matter. And then another well-located changeup to finish things off. 3-pitch plate appearance from a guy who is a pretty professional hitter in Manzardo. Simeon Woods Richardson there, again, taking a look at some full at-bat highlights. Here's another one. Huge situation. 2 outs, bases loaded. Fastball, changeup, just to eviscerate another lefty in a big spot. That's a pitch. That's a go-to pitch for him. He can go to that pitch, especially against lefties. And we'll take a look at his splits. That's definitely something to keep in mind. He's got to improve on those. But before that, I just want to call out again his secondary pitches. Here's a look at his 86-mile-per-hour slider, 82-mile-per-hour changeup, and then a 75-mile-per-hour curveball, really well placed there. The slider, they seem to kind of take a few ticks off of that later on in the year. They seem to be tinkering with that one. But as you see here, the dramatic reverse platoon splits. 677 OPS lefties had against them. Meanwhile, righties had an 874. So, it doesn't take a real genius to identify that this is something that he's got to figure out. So just a little bit more info on Stuff Plus, which is now available at Fangraphs. So they have this really good explainer article, that explains, where it comes from, mentions Eno, but calls out that it only looks at the physical characteristics of a pitch, and those secondary pitches are defined based on their primary fastball, and explains that, you'll find some pitchers with unique release point and movement combinations score very well despite lower velocities. So vertical attack angle is not explicitly in the model, but it's captured by the interaction between release points and movement. So there is basically a lot of suggestion that Simeon Woods Richardson's pitches work really well compared to one another, and possibly create a lot of deception. And I think, we can look at him and say there's still there's a bridge to cross. He's still got a ways to go to connect the dots, right, is how I would put it. But I think it is extremely exciting that this foundation is here on a 23-year-old guy with this much AAA experience. And I'm excited to see what, he and the Twins pitching lab come up with from here and how they kind of connect those dots. Let's boil it all down. Let's cut through the BS. Excitement is one thing. All these metrics and all this is the other thing. I'm still a guy that kind of goes back to the hitters will tell you a lot about what you need to know about a pitcher, and Simeon Woods Richardson's numbers tell you that AAA hitters didn't really have too much problem with him last year. And I think that's a bigger thing to keep in mind than any of these other interesting metrics. He still has to put it all together. So this kind of forgotten man in the Twins system, I think you could kind of throw Austin Martin into that conversation as well. Both the guys they got in the Jose Barrios trade. I still think there is a lot to be excited about with both of those guys. It's just that it's kind of how it works sometimes. As you go up the ladder, some things are exposed as you move up. It's less easy to get really excited about certain things because we've seen more things as prospects move up the ladder. It's a lot easier to get excited about some 17, 18-year-old kid you haven't seen play anybody than it is these guys up in AAA. So I want to make sure we don't lose sight of the fact that these two exciting guys are knocking at the door, potentially going to be big contributors to the Twins in 2024, depending on what all happens above them. Right now, they're just depth pieces. They're not going to enter 2024 with a big league role, of course, but opportunities present themselves. So anyway, thanks for checking this one out. Really appreciate it. We'll talk again soon.